What follows is the palaver, but those are the two main points. It's about the Senate, and it's about disenfranchising people who work in the Senate and the voters that the senators represent for each state. This isn't about the presidential race, although the relief side probably wants to overreach the case at this time. You get the Senate president, that gets people thinking, I would imagine. Today's December 9th. It's about 7:30. I've been watching the news reports about the Texas lawsuit, Hunter Biden, a few other things. Minor consequence, very small no. I had a comment to make about the Texas case which has gone to the Supreme Court, and the opposition has until sometime mid-afternoon tomorrow to make their reply. The gist of the case is essentially that in the Senate, if one is a member state, small s, of the Senate, then one is entitled to 2 votes. It's like a membership club, which it is. And there are rules set under the Constitution by which elections are held, something that everybody agrees to in order to be part of the Union, or all the states agreed to when becoming part of the Union, all the way back to the ratification of the Constitution through Alaska and Hawaii. What the implication of having a couple of states that were not following the Constitution is, according to the suit, is that the citizens of Texas are being disenfranchised by member states, small s, that have violated the terms of their having senatorial representation that's honest. In other words, Texas voters are cheated because the 4 states they name didn't follow the rules. That's the basic logic. And the rules are outlined, like it was at Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. To think about the legislatures. If that's the case, there are really 2 sides that one has to be on. Or one of 2 sides that one has to be on, although, usually they're politicians, they can figure out how to be on both, right? But you've got to be on one of 2 sides. One is my state, just pick Texas, for example, and any who joined, like Louisiana and whatnot, are saying, yeah, our voters were disenfranchised by the violation of the rules in, what was it, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia, was it? How about Nevada? No, Nevada. I learned how to say that right 4 years ago. Whatever right is. So, okay. So I think everybody kind of follows that. But the other side is, and the side only going to be argued, I suppose, by the 4 states, is either there were no violations of the Constitution, which is bullshit, pardon my French, or our voters were not disenfranchised by our violating the Constitution as written. I mean, this is a COVID crisis. Back in the old days when they wrote the Constitution, they had pandemics. But they didn't have modern medicine. They understood what the basic rules would be. So a pandemic without uh, modern medicine to treat it would be presumed to have been known by the framers of the Constitution. So the constitutional arguments, and the crisis thing, I think you got to toss that if you're an originalist. But if you're there ought to be a law, and I'm always right on that side, normative law, um, then the argument you make is that other voters were not disenfranchised. So what's interesting to me is you get a state like California, Oregon, Washington, just go up the left coast, and other states really should declare whether or not their voters were disenfranchised by the constitutional breach. In other words, there should be declarations by all the states on each side. Were your voters disenfranchised or not by the violations of the Constitution in those 4 states? It's a really interesting issue. Something we're paying a lot of attention to, because the law is the cornerstone of our research into psychosocial historiography. And knowing something and saying it are 2 very different things. I just said what the other side is. California should say why its voters were not disenfranchised by the actions in Philadelphia. Oh, not Philadelphia. Pennsylvania, the state. Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin. They really need to say why those 4 members who violated Article 2, Section 1, presumptively, maybe there's a way they didn't, I don't know what it would be, but why that wouldn't violate the rights of their citizens to cast a vote. Or how it helps them, that might be interesting.